Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're putting on our explorer's hats because we're heading into the amazing world of astrophysics and cosmology.
Yeah, you got it. We're tackling a huge question, one that's had people wondering for centuries. Is our universe some kind of cosmic accident, or is there like a plan, a purpose behind it all?
That's a big one, and thankfully you, our amazing listeners, sent us this super interesting article.
Right. It talks about this discussion between Dr. Luke Barnes, he's an astrophysicist, and a philosopher of science named Dr. Jay Richards.
And they really jumped into this question, didn't they?
He did.
The article's all about their video called The Privileged Planet, Evidence for Design.
Yeah, they're looking at this idea of fine-tuning. Basically, is the universe tailor-made for life to exist? So let's break that down.
Okay, so fine-tuning is like this big idea, right?
It really captures your imagination, doesn't it? It's this idea that the universe, it's like a perfectly balanced recipe.
Like if you're baking a cake, you can't just throw in whatever you want and hope for the best.
Exactly. You need the right ingredients in the exact amounts or you're going to have a bad time.
And in the universe's recipe, those ingredients are things called fundamental constants.
Right. Things like how strong gravity is the speed of light and all those forces that control how tiny particles interact. These constants, they're like the foundation of physics. They set the rules for how everything works at the smallest level.
In Dr. Barnes, he says there are a bunch of these constants, like 31 to be exact, that are set up just right for life to happen.
31, it's like winning the cosmic lottery that many times in a row. What do you think are the chances of that happening randomly?
Infinitesimally small, I'd say.
To put it into perspective, imagine you're trying to find a single atom that's been marked in an entire galaxy. Those are the kinds of probabilities we're talking about with fine-tuning. It's not just unlikely, it's mind-blowingly improbable.
So let's get down to brass tacks. Dr. Barnes talks about the force that holds atoms together as an example. Can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. It's a great example of fine-tuning. If that force were even a tiny bit weaker, and we're talking incredibly small change here, the only element that could exist would be hydrogen.
Oh, what?
No other elements could form, which means no stars, no planets, no complex chemistry, and of course, no life.
And what if it were just a bit stronger?
Then it's all heavy elements. And forming stars and galaxies becomes really, really hard. It's a delicate balance. This force has to be just right for the universe we know to exist.
That really makes you think. We take this balance for granted, but it's these fundamental forces that allow everything to be here. So are we saying Dr. Barnes believes somebody literally fine-tuned these constants?
Well, he and Dr. Richards definitely make some thought-provoking points about what this fine-tuning could mean. The article summarizes their discussion about how this apparent design could point to something beyond just random chance.
And that's where things get super interesting. So it's not only about if the universe could exist, but if it could support us being here to observe it right.
Exactly. And that's where we get into this idea called the anthropic principle, which basically says the universe has to be compatible with us being here to observe it.
But there's something else, isn't there? It's not just that the universe can have life somewhere, but that Earth seems perfect for studying it all.
Right. That's what makes this so cool. It's not just about life existing. It's about us being able to go, hey, what's out there? Dr. Richards said something that really stuck with me. He said, it's almost like Earth was made to be a science lab for the universe.
You know, I've always loved just looking up at the stars at night. It's so easy to forget how much we can actually see just with our eyes.
It's incredible when you think about it. We can see thousands of stars without even a telescope. But it gets even better. Our atmosphere, it lets us see way more than that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It seems so basic, right? But it's huge. Because our atmosphere is transparent, we can see galaxies, faraway track planets, and even watch these crazy events like supernovae. That's how we learn about just how big and amazing the universe really is.
So we've got like front row seats to the biggest show ever. But it's not just the atmosphere, is it? What about the moon?
Ugh, the moon. It's not just pretty to look at. You know, it's in the perfect spot and the perfect size to give us total solar eclipses.
Okay, I've seen one of those. And yeah, it was mind-blowing. But I never really thought about them being important for science.
Oh, they're super important. When there's a total eclipse, the moon blocks out the sun perfectly. And that lets us see the sun's corona, which is like its outer atmosphere. Usually we can't see that because the sun's too bright.
It's like closing one eye to get a better look at something.
Exactly. And by studying the corona during eclipses, scientists have figured out tons of stuff about the sun, like its magnetic field, its temperature, and they've even found new elements that way. Helium, for example, that was discovered during an eclipse back in the 1800s.
Wow, I had no idea. So it really does seem like Earth is set up perfectly, not just for life, but for us to observe and learn and really understand the universe.
It's pretty amazing, right? It makes you stop and think about how we're able to study all this to learn about what's around us. But it also makes you ask, is it all just a lucky coincidence or something bigger going on?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is it just chance, or is there a purpose, a plan behind it all?
That's what I love about this topic. It makes us face these big questions about where we fit into everything. Did we just win the cosmic lottery 31 times or was it rigged?
Dr. Barnes and Dr. Richards, they don't say they have all the answers, but they definitely make you rethink what you believe about chance and necessity.
It's definitely something to think about. The anthropic principle says the universe has to be this way for us to be here. But that doesn't automatically mean it was designed right. It just means it has to be that way for us to exist as observers.
Right, like, what if out of all the universes out there, we just happen to be in the one where everything's perfect for life?
Yeah.
Pure luck or something more?
That's the big debate. And this is where philosophy comes in. If we say that our universe isn't the only one, that maybe there are tons of universes out there with all different laws of physics, then maybe our universe being fine-tuned isn't so special.
Okay, wait, so you're saying there could be like a whole bunch of universes all different and ours is just one of them?
Yeah.
That maybe there are other versions of us out there living in universes with totally different rules?
It's a wild thought, isn't it? And it's actually gaining some ground in science. But we have to remember, the multiverse fair, it's still just a theory. We haven't actually seen any evidence of other universes.
So are we back to where we started?
Not really. Even without all the answers, just asking these questions helps us understand more, you know? We're always trying to figure out the universe, and every new thing we find, every theory, every question gets us closer to seeing where we fit in.
This deep dive has been quite a ride. We talked about the tiniest particles, the biggest mysteries, like, is the universe fine-tuned just for us? And are there more universes out there?
And that's the thing, this journey doesn't really end, does it? Every time you look up at the stars at night, you're kind of continuing it. What if there are other universes? What if we're not alone? What if there's a plan behind it all?
It's enough to make your head spin. But even if we never know for sure one thing's certain, the universe is full of incredible things just waiting to be discovered.
So keep asking those big questions. Keep that sense of wonder, and who knows what you might find. Our deep dive might be over for now, but yours is just beginning.